Welcome to another deep dive edition of the Chicks on the Right podcast. We are so excited because today we are going to spotlight one of our new American Business Spotlight partners. Dana Spain is the founder of VBC Giving Foundation, and we are super stoked about this opportunity to partner with this particular organization because of the good work that it does. And Dana, we're so happy to have you with us, and we'd love an overview of VBC Giving Foundation.
Now, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for taking the time this morning. VBC Giving Foundation is really about providing affordable housing, but not affordable the way that you think about it. Not secondary housing, not rehabs, but brand new construction to our most vulnerable populations. And number one is our veterans, who really don't have the housing options that they should. We also are focusing on kids aging out of foster care, and then eventually seniors and abuse survivors. But for now, our focus is veterans. We just opened our first Veterans Village. And the village concept is to bring people together with like experiences. So when they're having a bad day and maybe are inclined to make some bad decisions, they have a neighbor that they can knock on the door, have a cup of coffee, and just say, hey, I'm having a difficult day. So it's really about bringing together people who have made some bad choices, have had some raw deals, putting them in respectable housing, because without housing, the rest of your life falls apart. If you don't have a safe place to call home and lay your head at night, the rest of it is not going to come together.
So how give our audience a little bit of background on how you got into this, because I mean, people don't just do this willy-nilly. You don't just fall into this.
Yeah, this was not willy-nilly at all. I did not have the honor and privilege of wearing the uniform. So my service has always been to those who served. I've been in active military and family affairs for decades at this point. And so I took over a defunct shelter for veterans and made it into a female perimeter. And we would have 12 ladies at a time, sort of like a sorority, and put them through all kinds of enrichment programs, mind, body, spirit. And they did so much hard work to put their lives back together, to get their families back together. And then at the end, housing agencies were putting them in absolute squalor, scattered sites, drug-infested apartment buildings. It was just a disgrace. And so I managed their leases, and I had a lease come across my desk one day, and the apartment didn't even include a refrigerator. Like, how's that a home? And it was in a bad neighborhood, and my head was exploding. So my father, an Army vet who was alive at the time, I joined him for cocktails, as is our way in our family. And just said, Dad, I just don't know what to do. And he said, well, you build buildings for a living, because that's my big girl job. Mm-hmm. Why don't we build a building and show the government how it's done? And so I said, well, okay, we could do that. Why don't we build a building? So we bought a plot of land in an area that is ripe for this sort of thing. It has access to public transportation so that they can get to the VA medical center. It has a retail corridor. It has urgent care. It has food. It has everything that people need right within walking distance. We bought a plot of land and we built a building. So our family foundation put in the seed money. And this is the third charity that I founded after Haven Women and Philadelphia Animal Welfare Society. So I know how to shake people down for money, and started asking my friends and associates, hey, this is a really good idea, but we need money to get it off the ground. And our first project out of the gate was a $6 million brand new building.
And you do that in a really remarkable way. So, and talk a little bit about the modularity of the homes and how the building wasn't actually built like in its spot, right? It's like built far away and then packaged and then sent and reconstructed like Legos.
That actually, when I'm describing what modular is, I say that they're Legos, except in the Lego, which is about 45,000 pounds, and 64 feet long and 15 feet wide, the Lego has everything in it that an apartment would need. So that's your kitchen, your flooring, all of your appliances, your bathrooms. Everything is in the module when it leaves the factory. Now, the upside of modular, there's a ton of upside to modular, but it's built in a factory like a car. So you order everything that you want in it in advance, and then it's made in the factory. It's made in a climate controlled environment, so there's no water infiltration, no mold, no expansion and contraction of the wood. And then it comes on the back of a rig to the job site, and we piece it together like a big fat puzzle using cranes, and they're all placed one on top of each other in a very intricate sort of Tetris pattern, and then they're sealed on site. The facade and the permanent roof and utility tie-ins happen, and shazam, you have an apartment building.
That's so cool. Okay, so the typical person who lives there, tell us who actually resides in these places.
Okay, so this is a mixed perimeter, meaning that there's females, males, and families. This are apartments. There's 47 units, and it ranges from studios all the way up to 3 bedrooms for family units. And it could be people as young as in their late 20s who have just separated for the military. But we have 3 brothers, actually, all who served in different branches, who are from the Vietnam War era.
Wow.
So it's really, I think the kind of cool thing, not to say that it's cool that veterans can't find housing, but the fact that they're coming home to us with their families, and that the older vets can provide some mentorship to the younger people is really very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
So how much, I mean, when you think about like your wildest dream expectation for this entire foundation, for the entire project, how
Right.
many sites do you hope to have? How big and how far reaching do you hope that this gets?
Well, you don't know me very well, but I have a very type A plus personality.
I could have never guessed that with your background.
Yeah, you're reading your bio and looking at stuff like learning about you just in the digital perspective. We could never tell that you're type A at all, Dana. No.
No. As much as I'm trying to retire and kayak my way into the sunset with my husband, that's not happening anytime soon. So we're never going to be able to build our way, just as the foundation, out of the crisis that we're in terms of housing. Put it in perspective. Right now, there are millions of units needed to house just the vulnerable populations, not even Joe and Jill Q Public, right? If we look at veterans, it's tens of thousands. If we look at seniors, it's hundreds of thousands. So our goal is really to reach like-minded organizations and people who have the zeal, the land, the passion, whatever it is, to join us. The one thing that I will say about the VBC Giving Foundation, and the reason that I made it this way, is that we're an open source. We don't have to build every building because we can't build every building. It's physically impossible. But if you as a church group or a veteran service organization come to me and say, I have money, or I have land, or I have the volition, whatever, I don't know how to build a building, you know how to build a building, we will give you our template. We will hold your hand through the process, because we want as many people to be involved to help us dig us out of this situation as possible. So does that mean 10 villages? Originally, just us internally, we have 1 village per year that we're going to build. And we already have interest from several other cities across the country. But we need hundreds of them, literally thousands of them.
Is it self-sustaining? Like, is there like a landlord there, or is it are the people pretty sustaining? Like because usually when you have like an apartment complex kind of a situation, there's some sort of managerial staff. How does that work?
So we don't self-perform management. That's the only thing we don't do. We use an affordable somebody whose niche in management is affordable housing complexes. They know all the rules and regulations. In terms of self-sustaining, yes, it is. Because people are paying rent. Now, are they paying it themselves, or are they paying it through HUD vouchers and city, state, federal subsidies? That's determined by their income level, and in the vet's case, and also the senior's case, their percentage of disability. So if you're on 100% disability from the VA, then 99% of your rent is going to be covered by HUD-VASH, which is the voucher associated with veterans. And so maybe the individual is paying $63 a month, but we are getting maximum market rate rent that our local housing authority allows. So that sustains the building. And we didn't do this complex, although there's no reason that people can't do it. We just wanted to get it up and open. So we did not take any city, state, or federal funding nor tax credits. We did it all with individual and corporate donations, foundation donations, and then the rest of it was traditionally financed through a community bank.
Wow.
So what is it that you want our audience to know about what draws you specifically to want to help veteran and particularly women veterans? Because that's a group that's often overlooked, and it's a group that you've paid particular interest to. Can you shed light about what drew you to that specifically, and maybe give like a good story?
Oh, I'm sure we're not going to ugly cry, are we?
Well, I'm down if you are.
I am not above it.
So when I took over, let me step back for a second. When I took over Haven, which at the time was Philadelphia Veterans Comfort House, it was originally built in 1972 to house veterans while they were receiving treatment at the VA Medical Center in Philadelphia. And then the VA built its own wing to house those people, and it became a shelter instead for homeless veterans. Fast forward, I was recruited to get involved because they were running out of money and the house was falling apart. And so I did some fundraising and some pro bono advising on how they could get back on their feet. It didn't work. The board of directors was a disaster. There were some financial shenanigans with the manager. It just was a mess. And so they made the decision, unfortunately, to kick everybody out who was living there and shut it down because there were code violations. It was disgusting, and it was a code violations, all kinds of things. After a couple months, the president of the board, who was the last person left, came to me and literally handed me the keys and said, "We don't know how to do it, and here you go."
Wow.
So again, I went to my dad, who was my guru, and said, "I'm just stepping off the board of paws at this point. I don't really need this." And he said, "How much is it going to take to fix up the house and get it back on its feet?" And I said, "About $250,000. He's like, "You could do that in your sleep." Take it on. Why not? You need a challenge. What? Sure. Why not? So I did. We renovated the entire building from soup to nuts, from the roof down to, the basement was filled with black mold. It was disgusting. So we started reaching out to VSOs, veteran service organizations, really to understand the need in Philadelphia. And we work with an amazing organization called Veterans Multi-Service Center. And they said, if at all possible, could you make it a female safe, sober perimeter? Because there's lots of options for our men and there's no options for our women. And I said, absolutely. Why is there, what's happening? Why are there no options? Well, it's a fairly new phenomenon in the last 20 years or so that women are in combat. Yay, feminism. Let's put women in combat with the men in really remote areas. I don't know what could go wrong there. So women are coming out of the military. 1 in 4 currently report that they are victims of military sexual trauma, MST, which is one of the many, many levels of PTSD. And they can't go into a mixed perimeter. They're just frightened. They have PTSD from this trauma. So we said, okay, well, we're going to make a safe, sober environment for women. And it was run really kind of as the military, merits and demerits system, very structured, very scheduled, and a mind, body, spirit approach where we did everything from teaching them how to balance a checkbook and protect your identity to self-defense courses and yoga and fellowship and book club and everything that we could think of, how to cook and eat on a budget. And it was really very successful. So it was a replicable model, and we became the only female perimeter in our area, and graduating some terrific ladies who realized that they had made some bad choices and put themselves in bad positions. And some were their own fault, some not so much. We helped them get over it. And as I said, then they were graduating and we were like, okay, here we go. We're going to give you all the tools that you need and the resources and the programs, and we're going to help you furnish your new apartment. In some cases, we bought baby furniture, like everything that we could possibly do. But if they're put in scattered sites and in squalor, then the cycle repeats itself, and it's just, they start making poor decisions, self-harm, addiction, all of it. And so we really started to focus on the ladies. 1 in 10 currently, 1 in 10 homeless veterans is female.
Wow.
You don't see that woman, when you think of a homeless veteran, I think that people see the guy on the side of the road with a cart with cardboard, right? I think out of real practicality, all of our bureaucracies treat them like numbers, but they're human beings. They have families, they have parents, they have kids, they have siblings.
Yeah, I think of the babies, like kids, like the moms.
Yeah,
with
we
kids.
take a much more holistic approach. Everyone has their own set of circumstances. Everyone has their own set of problems and issues. We can't fix everything, but we can give you the tools to fix it. And the VA really, even though women have been in combat now for decades, the VA is still very male focused.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know, ladies, we've got our own set of problems when you are a woman, right? Whether that's mental, physical, changing life, whatever that may be, the VA is just not really set up for that. So we really need a baseline. We're not going to change the VA. I say, and especially when I'm talking to veterans and military organizations, think of the VA as an aircraft carrier, right? How long does it take to turn around an aircraft carrier and correct course?
Yeah.
Days, right? I'm a cigarette boat. I can turn on a dime, and so can my volunteers and my board of directors. We can course correct in an instant. And that's what makes having non-government agencies involved in this issue so important. Back to your audience, we're a grassroots startup. As much as we just built a $6 million building, we have to refi it. We still have bills to pay. We still have to maintain it and repair it. And we still have to build our next one. Our goal is, especially for people coming out of transitional housing and addiction recovery programs, is to not put people in a blank box, right? In a lot of cases, our Haven ladies, for example, they were leaving with the clothes on their back and a toothbrush. We want them to have all of the feminine products that they need, hygiene products that they need, a fuzzy bathrobe, fuzzy slippers, a coffee machine. How can you have an apartment and not have coffee?
Right. How can you just not have coffee?
That's right. So our goal really, and what we raise money for, and we have some church groups that we work with and some women's organizations that we work with, that they provide welcome baskets for our tenants that have a little bit of everything in it to make them feel like real human beings again. A lot of our veterans have been in and out of the system for years. They've never quite figured it out because they're getting a handout, but not a hand up, as cliche as that might be. And so our goal is really that sort of wraparound programming and love and understanding and a coffee machine and a fuzzy robe.
Yes.
Because you need to feel human and you need to feel appreciated and not second-class citizen. Well, the reason, like in Haven House, when we redid the house, and I went out to vendors of mine and then went out on LinkedIn actually and just said, hey, we need things to put the kitchen together. We had a state-of-the-art kitchen in that sorority. Brand new stainless steel appliances, solid surface countertop, tile floors. We had a full Carrara marble powder room because somebody donated it.
Oh my
gosh. Said, our ladies deserve to live in luxury. And it's the reverse broken window theory. If you put somebody in a respectable situation, they're going to respect themselves and their sisters and take care of the perimeter. If you put them in squalor, they're going to live in squalor.
Right.
Yeah.
So what
all
can
of our
people
villages
do?
are brand new construction.
I love it.
Yeah. So tell our audience what they can do to find out more information, what they can do to help the cause. How can we bring more awareness, and what's like a good success story that will motivate people to understand why this is important?
Okay, so easiest thing to do to find out more about us is VBC Victor Bravo Charlie Giving Foundation.org. You'll read about us, our mission, our plan, the new village, which by the way is named after my dad.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's the Bernard Spain campus because he was the impetus for all of this. And a picture of him hangs in the lobby.
Nice.
And my
So
mom dug
great.
up a picture of him in uniform from his Army days, and that's also hanging in
Fantastic.
the community room at the center.
So fantastic.
So what can your people do? They can get involved. They can get involved in their own communities if they're involved in VSOs or churches or women's organizations. They want more information on how they can build a village or how they can help with programming. We are open to that. My contact information is on the website. All of our board of directors are on the website. So that's the first thing. And consider donating, whether it's $5 a month, $25 a month, a big fat check from your bank or insurance company or your company that matches donations, whatever that is. 90 plus cents of every single dollar goes directly to our villages and programs. We have one employee and the rest of us are volunteers. So our overhead is nil. You
Love
can
it.
know that when you're giving us money, it is going directly. The other thing is, speaking of the funds, for example, well, if you're a coffee fan and you say, you know what, I want every single one of those apartments to have a coffee maker. Well, we're going to set up an Amazon wish list where you can buy a coffee maker and know that your money is not being used for anything else because you're buying a coffee maker and some lady's going to have a coffee maker and think about you every morning over her morning coffee.
That's awesome.
That.
I love that too. That is fantastic.
All right, give us a story.
Okay. I was going to give you the story from one of our ladies of Haven, but she's not living with us. She thankfully was reunited with her children and moved back in with her family and happily ever after. So,
and that's a great story.
That is a great story.
Yeah, one of our Haven ladies. She was, I'm going to say, late 20s, early 30s. She had not separated from the military for very many years, about 4, but had some trauma in the military and made some very poor decisions and ended up at Haven with us. And one day I went to check on the house and get the mail and just check on the ladies and see what they needed. And she was outside waiting for a ride. I think it was Easter Sunday or right before Easter. And I introduced myself and just asked how she was. And she said her name is Tracy. And she was really very excited and a little jittery. And I was a little concerned knowing her background and started to talk to her. And she said, no, I'm jittery because I'm seeing my children for the first time in 3 years. I was given the okay because I'm in a safe place and I'm making my recovery and I'm getting myself a job and I'm allowed to see my kids.
Oh my God.
We had a hug and a cry and thought, well, this is all worth it. Our village success story, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty, is a gentleman named Wally. And Wally actually worked on the building with his own 2 hands. Wally is an Army veteran, and he has been in and out of jail and in and out of recovery, and worked for a construction company and then was doing some not so good things and really found himself that it was, he had issues. When he heard that we were building this building, he came back to be a part of the building with the understanding that he would live with us and sort of keep an eye on the place. And he is clean and sober and employed and is living at the village with his brothers.
Oh, shoot.
I know. I'm losing her too.
Yeah. Just lost you in the best part of that story.
I know. She was telling the story. I thought it was just me. I was like, it cannot just be me.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Oh,
People must be waking up in the RV park.
Everything was perfect until the story.
Oh, no.
Okay. Now you're back. Okay,
now
that
she's
sounds
back.
better. I don't see you, but that's okay because we'll still get you your video back.
Yep. She'll be able to work with that. So go ahead. See if we can hear you.
Where did you lose me?
I think we lost you right when he said he agreed to come back to be part of the building, and then you cut out.
So he agreed to come back and be part of literally putting the building together with his own 2 hands. And I'm happy to report that he is clean and sober, fully employed, and just moved in with his brothers in uniform into the village. This is going to be the first time he is living independently in almost a decade.
Gosh,
wow.
That's amazing.
That see that I mean those are the kinds of stories I think that really impact people and drive them to want to help and to want to do something. So that's fantastic. And so again, folks, if you are listening, you need to check out vbcgivingfoundation.org, where you can learn all about Dana Spain and her amazing organization and find out ways that you can help and contribute. Dana, thank you so much for giving us all the background and all the information on this amazing foundation. We so appreciate it and hope that our listeners are inspired to help.
Yep. We appreciate you, Dana. Appreciate all that you do.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much for watching. We know that you do because you know all of the jokes.
You do. It's crazy.
I now watch on Locals because I was kicked off by Kleborg 9. So I watch on Locals. And I think I was telling your producer, like, I have Cozy Earth and I'm a Genucell user, and I can't drink Bone Frog because they don't make Nespresso capsules yet. I have every single thing from My Pillow, our sheets, our towels, our fuzzy slippers, like the whole nine. And and I appreciate you ladies. You bring joy and light to a really crazy upside down world.
That is so sweet.
We try. Thank you so much.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate all that you're doing. So this is just fantastic, and we hope that we can rally the troops and help the cause. We really do.
I'm sure that if anybody can, you can.
Thank you so much,
Dana. Thank you.